Good afternoon, everyone. Eugene here from SuperMate. I hope you are all well, and thank you very much for joining us today. Today we are going to be going through our the March updates and the end-of-year processing in SuperMate. All right, so we are very proud of our awards that we won last year. We're very, very happy to have won the SMSF Advisor, winner of the SMSF Technology Innovator of the Year, and the Innovation of the Year Company Award at the IFA Excellence Awards last year. So we are really working hard to make SuperMate as automated as possible for you to really streamline your efficiency and make the end of year processing, or just using SuperMate in general, very simple and easy to use. So as I mentioned, my name is Eugene. I'm sure if you've been on this webinar before, you would have seen me. I'm the Business Development Manager for SuperMate here at Super Concepts. And joining me, as always, is Rhys, our Head of Product Design. That's us just today. We don't have any other additional guests, but we've got quite a packed agenda to go through. Rhys told me that, there's quite a lot that we're going to be going through, so we'll try and move ahead pretty quickly. So looking at the agenda that we've got today, we're looking at asset allocation, import registry balances, a new ATO lodgement file format, expanded advisor functionality. And of course, as we get to the end of the financial year, we're looking at end of year processing across the period close, prior to the period close and period close onwards. So quite a packed agenda. Rhys, over to you.
Thank you, Eugene. I should be sharing the right screen now. Just want to thank everyone for coming today. As mentioned, I'll be covering off the latest release. And once again, it's been a big month. We've had 9 releases and 106 items delivered since the last webinar. Today, I'll be focusing on a couple of the bigger items out of it is the asset allocation, the out of strategy screen, the manual import registry balances, the new ATO tax lodgement file format, the expanded advisor functionality that we've released, and then just a bit of a different tack from previous webinars. I'm just going to go through a bit of an educational portion of the webinar where I'll go through the end of year processing, some of the screens before the period close, and then the process from period close onwards. Okay, so the first one is the asset allocation screen. It's now available directly in SuperMate. Previously, we created this screen for advisors just to monitor when their funds go out of strategy, and then they can have that conversation with their clients to pull the funds back into strategy. However, we received a lot of feedback that there are people out there that want this screen within SuperMate. Just going to navigate to SuperMate now. I'll show you where to locate it. So in the site menu, under Assets, out of strategy, this is the screen. It shows all the funds that are currently out of strategy, which asset classes are out of strategy, by how much. So you can see here the big portfolios. Australian fixed interest is 12.91% above the maximum range. And it also has how long it's out of strategy. And this is a bit of an important number where, if there's market fluctuations, which we're currently experiencing now, and it's been out of strategy for a couple of days, the concept might be, okay, well, maybe let's see where the market goes, or should we revise the investment strategy now? It also highlights the ones where, if it's a significant number, these are ones you could probably look at and go, okay, well, these ones here have been out of strategy for multiple years. This one's over a year. Let's have a look at these ones before I get to the audit stage for the fund. And let's try and correct it now, so I don't have any issues with the audit. As mentioned, this is the result as of today's date. If you were looking for ways to review investment strategies and whether they are in and out of strategy from a retrospective point of view or a past search for a certain period, that's where the health check comes into place. So if I go to fund health check, select the run tests, I could run the test 39. So I want to look at all the ones for the 25 financial year. I can select run. It's going to go off. It's going to run the test to see whether funds are within strategy at 30 June 25. And then I can flick back to the results, view the test that I've just run for that financial year. And then I can see and search by failed, just so I can focus on which ones need correcting. And I can see here, okay, well, I've just run all these tests. I have about 13 funds still as at 30 June 25. That is out of strategy. So in summary, out of strategy screen will show real-time visibility. The fund health check, you can use that for retrospective or scheduled reviews. The next item I want to talk about is the ability to manually input registry balances. Previously, the balances were imported automatically at the end of each month, and it would do the end of month request, and then any balances that don't exist for the prior 30th of June. So tomorrow, the system will automatically go. So it's the first day of the month. It'll automatically go off to the registries, requested balances as of 31st of March, but also request any balances that we don't have for 30th of June 25. The other time we did the automatic balance request was when you jumped into the allocate investor reference tab, and you allocated investor references in that tab. At the time, we would request the balances from the registry as a way of going, okay, you've allocated these balances. Are all the balances correct? Have you got the right registry in? So it's a way to validate that the investor references you just allocated were correct, but also to give you that data. We've received feedback that people want to be able to import registry balances at certain points. To say if it was halfway through a month and they were trying to reconcile a fund and they just want to get the registry balances to make sure that they're correct. Instead of waiting for the end of the month for a registry balance confirmation, they want to be able to import the registry balances now. So we've included the button. So if I jump into the Future Super Fund, navigate through the Assets menu to Holding Reconciliation, I now have the import registry balance. So say if I don't want to wait till tomorrow for the monthly load, I can enter the reconciliation date, select search, and then when I select import registry balances, it will request the balances as per the reconciliation date. So no need to wait for the end of the month. You're in control of when you can request balances. Third item is the new ATO tax lodgement file format. We've received a few tickets through about the due date lodgement file wasn't there was validation errors, and it turns out that the ATO modified the file that you could download from the ATO and then import into SuperMate to get the due dates And the two changes were the due date is now in year-month-day, and they've also put quote marks all through the CSV, which caused a few issues with SuperMate reading the file. So yep, we've enhanced SuperMate, so it can now handle both date formats, and it can handle the CSV file having quotes or not having quotes. It's just for the people who aren't aware of where you can load that file. If you go to the end of year tracking screen, the load due dates button is here. And yeah, so let's go to the online services, download the file, and you can upload it now. And when you jump into the screen, all the lodgement due dates will appear for that financial year. The next item, expanded advisor functionality. Over the past couple of releases, we've been increasing the advisor functionality. So we've increased the visibility of the advisor assistants. We've given you more access to more data on the group and firm level. We've made it easier to allocate advisors to funds, converting advisors to assistants, and inviting advisors to client view prior to linking funds. So I'll just navigate back to SuperMate so I can take you through some of those changes. Under settings, advisors, you can now see that I've Jude Preston here as an advisor assistant. We did get feedback that advisor assistants, even though they technically didn't fit under the advisor structure, they were located under identities, but just it does make more sense that advisor assistants sit in the advisors screen. So you can see here, yep, Jude Preston, she's an advisor assistant. I can now select onto Jude, see the details, select the fund, and so I can see the funds where Jude is the advisor assistant of, which head office, sub office that relates to, which advisor Jude's connected to. We've also increased the visibility over the head office and the sub office, so the level 1, level 2 of the advisor structure. Frank Brown, he is part of the Wealth Builders sub office, which belongs to Wealth head office, which is the the firm / dealer group. I can now jump in, look at the details, look at the funds, see which advisors sit under this head office, which funds, the values that relate to those funds. There's a lot more detail there. Also, if I selected to an advisor themselves, I can see their advisor assistants, and in the fund section, I can select add, and I can add funds into using this screen. And the benefit of this one is that prior to this screen existing, if you wanted to attach an advisor, you would have to go into each fund, navigate to the relationships tab, add them, and repeat that until all the funds are allocated to that advisor. Here, it just in a single screen, you can select multiple funds or portfolios, and that will add that advisor to that fund. Now, if the fund already has an advisor, so for example, if I was to allocate Frank to these two funds, which Andy is the advisor, Andy would be moved automatically to previous advisor, and all those existing advisor assistant relationships would disappear, and Frank and all of Frank's advisor assistants would be the advisor/advisor assistants for those funds. Another request that we've received was when a advisor assistant that a site has been dealing with, they've completed their studies or they've received a promotion. They wanted a quick and easy way of upgrading that advisor assistant to a advisor. So using Jude as an example again, I could select the menu item and I could select convert to advisor. The head office pre-fills based on the advisor that Jude's related to. Obviously, you could change it. So say if Jude got a promotion, but by getting that promotion change firms, or it's different offices, you could change that. Select a date from when Jude was taking over. So let's just say today. And I'll select next. Then I could choose the funds which Jude would be taking over. So as part of the promotion, Jude gets to take a certain number of funds or not. Say if in this example, Jude gets to take the Legacy Super Fund as a client. When I select save, Frank will no longer be the advisor, it'll be Jude. And Jude will be removed as the advisor assistant on all of the other funds. I'm not going to select save, just so I don't mess up my data. Because, yeah, Jude's still an advisor assistant in my examples. The last one is inviting advisors to client view prior to linking to a fund. So another bit of feedback we received was certain sites were signing up advisors to their service, but they couldn't invite the advisor to client view until a fund was added to their site, and then the advisor was allocated to that fund. Now, even if a advisor is not allocated to a fund, you can navigate to this screen and send the invitation, and that way the advisor could log into client view, play around, get used to the menu structure. Once a fund's attached, could further investigate, look at client view from a fund level perspective. But it just means you're speeding up that onboarding process with the advisor. So this is the expanded advisor functionality. Now I'll move on to the end of year processing. So most of this is existing functionality, but I thought it was worth just taking everyone through the different screens that are available prior to a period close, and then the process on how to do a period close onwards in SuperMate. So any of those classic users could get a bit of a taste of how much easier it is in web. The first item, platform asset worksheet. I'm just going to change funds quickly. So the platform asset worksheet obviously is used when you have a platform asset. It can be located under assets, platform asset worksheet. Once you select the platform asset, you do get the details of any records that you've put in. You can select add to add a new record. I'm going to select cancel because I already have a record, which is the same screen, except I've got the data already filled in. And what you need to do here is, if you have a platform asset, a simple platform or a detailed platform, is to enter the 30th of June dated. For a simple platform, this is where you can enter a market value as of 30th of June. If it's a detailed platform, that market valuation, it's going to come from the underlying asset. So the unit price multiplied by the number of units held for each sub-asset. So calculated up into the market valuation. The realized discountable capital gains and the realized capital gains or loss are separated to two different fields. So SuperMate can do that calculation of do the capital gains calculations correctly. Okay, this is the amount that's discounted. If it's a loss or a gain, apply it to the discounted capital gains. If you have assets outside the platform, SuperMate will go through that different process of, okay, well, I'll take it away from the losses on these assets, take it away from the gains in this order. It's not mandatory, but you can also put in the realized market movement or any accrued discountable capital gains or accrued capital losses. You can enter it so it'll appear on different reports, but it's not required. If you don't enter these details in, SuperMate will just do the calculation itself. The next screen I want to talk about is the expense comparison report. It is an interactive report, and it's quite handy to review your before doing a close, just reviewing where the fund processing, see if there's any expenses that could be processed incorrectly. Going back to SuperMate, if I go to interactive reports, I can't use any of these reports. They're quite helpful, just getting a live view of the fund's standings. Today, I want to show off the expense comparison report. And you can see here, I've got a couple of property expenses. There's 4 expenses in both financial years. The difference is it's a bit more in this year compared to last year, which makes sense, inflation. It highlights if there's a 20% difference. This one's a supervisory levy in this year. Maybe last year it was missed, or this is or maybe there's just some carryover to the next year. But the one that's definitely jumping out to me is this accounting fee and administration fee. Both have 12, but it just looks like whoever processed this fund process the transactions, which usually go to accountancy fees, to administration fees instead. So I can easily just select view transactions, which will navigate to the transaction screen, highlighted on these transactions, and I can easily just go change these expenses to accountancy fees. Move back, and then when I select view, those transactions should match. Yep, so there's still 26% less. So I probably need to dive into why. Maybe that's a change in quote or something on doing the work. The next screen, tax partial matching screen. Hopefully you don't need to jump into this screen often, but it can be quite handy when you are whether there's been some significant changes to the fund from a pension/accumulation perspective, or I hope you don't have any of these clients, but I've had clients before where they used to like to dictate which tax parcels were sold during the year. So even though I was using least profit and they were full accumulation, and the system can automatically calculate the best taxable outcome for them, from a least profit perspective, the client would say, no, I actually want to sell this parcel and this parcel for some reason. So tax parcel matching screen is the screen you can do this in. Jumping back to SuperMate, it is under end of year tax parcel matching. And so say for this fund, if it was all least profit, and then because they were full accumulation, but at 31st of December, they went full pension mode, I could change the date range here to 31st of December 2024. Select search, and then I have all the trades from when they went full pension mode, and I could change that to go through and change them to most profit, select save, that'll update. So these trades are now in the most profit perspective. I could generate a realized capital gains report before and after, so I could compare the difference that it makes. And also this is the option. So we do have the select parcels manually option. If I select edit on it, this is where I could jump in and say if a client said, no, I didn't sell that parcel, I can untick it and go, put 100 there, and then tick this one, put 400, and the sale amount automatically updates based on number of units sell multiplied by the sale amount divided by units to sell from the entire sale. But yeah, I could just use this to manually choose which tax packets are being sold. But fingers crossed you don't have a client that's trying to dictate you to manually select it. The next screen to look at before the end of year process is the annual tax statement screen. This one is very important if you have any assets that get sent a tax statement. So any unit trusts, wraps, platforms. Gonna jump into SuperMate once again. Locate the screen under end of year annual tax statements. You can see here I have 3 assets. 2 of them have gross revenue to look at. One thing you might note is this one here as a information alert to say this one's been bought and sold during the year. We put that in case not holding the asset or increasing the holdings does impact the estimated the estimated tax components that we estimate for you. We also have this distribution one, and so the purpose of this distribution column is that it'll highlight, maybe there's something wrong. This one has 3. Why does it have 3? Well, chances are it got sold before 30th of June. Hence why it's got 3. This one's got 5, which is probably unusual. Normally you have 1, 2, or 4. The gross revenue column, before trying to update or reviewing revenue components, what you want to do is make sure this gross revenue does match the tax statement you have. So in this scenario, if the gross revenue is higher than expected, the indicator is, well, yeah, there's 5 distributions instead of 4, so there must be a second distribution process. We also have the ability to upload tax statements, and when you upload tax statements, it does send the tax statement off to Data Hero to extract the revenue components. Data Hero is quite good at extracting the information from MUFG and computer share ones, excluding ones with AMETs. We're still training Data Hero up to handle tax statements with AMET and the more complex versions, the wrap accounts. So that's still to come. But basically, if you upload the tax statement, it'll go off. It'll try and read it, and then process it. The status here, prior to be confirmed, there should be 2 statuses, whether it's estimated or pending. A pending status will be that there are distributions, but we don't have any other records to try and estimate what the revenue components are. The estimated one will be if there has been a tax statement completed on a different site or on a fund within your site. What we do is we grab the details that were entered on the prior record, we divide it by the number of units to try and get not divided by number of units. We divide each revenue component entered by the total, so we get a percentage. And then we apply those percentages against the gross revenue for this fund. So if I select update, I can see what SuperMate has estimated, and it's estimated some Australian income, some discounted capital gains, foreign income not accessible. I can click through, make sure that these are all correct based on the estimate. If I update this estimate, it will go through and update the estimate it has for the funds on this site, so it won't go to other sites. And the key task for this screen is to review your tax statement, enter the figures if the status was pending, if it's estimated, review the figures. Once you're happy with what you've entered, select confirm and select prevent rerun. And this prevent rerun is really important if the revenue components were processed by corporate actions, because once you've confirmed the tax statement against the piece of paper, so making sure that the total revenue components match the total revenue on the tax statement, so you know that the revenue total is correct and that the transactions have been processed correctly. When you select prevent rerun, that will stop any corporate actions rerunning and then putting out revenue components. I should also point out that when you do review the gross revenue, it is also a good idea to review the 30 June revenue if it's been processed by a corporate action. So sometimes the revenue total can be correct, but like an earlier distribution is off and the 30 June one is off. So the total's correct, but individual revenue distributions aren't. This should really be happening if you're doing this process once the transactions have been all processed and reconciled. But I do sometimes see support tickets where the prior financial year is closed and the distribution receivable amount at the start of the year is incorrect, and they're saying, well, how do I correct it? Well, the corporate actions in the prior financial year, you can't correct that amount, and you should really be making sure that 30 June distribution is correct. And so with this screen, the goal is to make sure that we have a confirmed status for any record that has a distribution. The last screen I'm going to talk about before going through the period close is the fund health check. So I touched on this before with the investment strategy. So obviously with fund health checks, you can run these for all funds or for a particular fund, and you can run certain tests. We do have an end of year profile, which does get run when you do a period close. But you can also just run this when you pick up a fund. You can run it just to get a bearing of where the fund's up to, if there's any issues that could pop up. Navigating back to SuperMate, if I go to the fund health check, since I'm already in a fund level, it opens up the fund level page. I can change the profiles to end of year. I can look at all of them. Sorry, wrong financial year. Select search. I can see which ones have passed. We've brought in a concept, and I've discussed in prior webinars, where you can acknowledge certain doors so you don't have to keep reviewing those warnings. For example, in this one here, it's a demo fund. So obviously I don't have a TFN or ABN for the fund. I haven't entered TFNs for the members because they are demo funds. So I was able just to tick it and then select the acknowledge. This one's already acknowledged, so I've got the reinstate button there. I'll move down to this one's also acknowledged. So if I go to this one, all corporate actions, this one's still pending. I can jump into here, select acknowledge, because I don't want to review that one. Then I could go failed, look at anything that's got a warning or an error. With the warnings, these are, hey, have a look, this doesn't look right. So for example, this test 133 has identified a bunch of unreconciled transaction accounts. I should attend to that. Whereas this one here is more of a warning. Okay, these assets didn't receive any revenue. Well, maybe there was no revenue distributed for that asset. So I can go through, have a look. If there is any errors, you need to attend to those errors. Otherwise, you won't be able to close the year. And yeah, as mentioned, the great thing about this screen is rather than waiting till you know the period close to check to see potential issues, you can run this at any time. Also, in the period close screen, it does run these tests. However, you can use this screen so you don't have to wait for the period close to complete, or you don't need to run a period close to see the results of these tests. The remainder of this webinar, I'm going to talk about period close onwards, when to lock off the period, actuarial certificate requests, reviewing the annual return, generating report suites, updating audit statuses, and the logic of the annual return. So basically, when you go into the end of year section from the period close stage onwards and the flow, and you can see how we've in SuperMate, we've simplified the process and laid it out into an intuitive process that you can follow. The first item is when to lock off a period. So when you have a fund that is full accumulation, you do get this option to whether you lock off the period or not. And when you run a period close without locking off the period, generally when you do this is when you want to run those checks, generate the reports, review the output, So you just want to have a look at the reports just to make sure they look okay. So you can see here, this one's no, and it's got the end of year trial close reports there. Once you are happy with the output, that is when we change it to locking off the period. And we always recommend locking off the period prior to sending the accounts to the auditors and clients. We do receive a lot of, well, why not anymore, but we in the past we did receive tickets that say, okay, I've sent these reports off to the auditor, and then I close the year and I've sent it off to the client, but the reports don't match what was audited, or the auditor's looking at the final generated reports and goes, okay, well, this doesn't match what I ordered. Why is it different? All right, someone's deleted a transaction or updated a market value. So lock off the period prior to sending it to the auditor or the client. The next item is the actuarial certificate. So you can see this was different to the previous view. The period in this view here, the period close is split into two sections. You get a option. This actuarial certificate option appears and the split happens when the fund has a pension. If it's full pension mode, you still get the actuarial certificate screen, so you can jump in and you can edit the pension exempt factor to 1. And you will get a warning to say, hey, this fund's full pension. You probably don't need to request an actuarial certificate, or a warning along that lines of, make sure you need to request an actuarial certificate. You could jump in here. You can also edit. I'll just jump into the screen just so you could see what I'm talking about. All right, I'll start a pension. Screen looks right. Start a pension for one of the members. So when I go back, you can see I've now got the split. You can select the edit button, put the pension exempt factor, modify the deemed segregation periods. I can select the override button if I want to change the ECPI calculation method. However, in the period close, the previous one, and this is why we split into 3 steps, when I select submit and the period close is running, it'll check to see which ECPI calculation method to use, and then enter a deemed segregation periods. Once that's done, this is where you can request the actuarial certificates. So you select, tick the terms and conditions, select submit, and it'll navigate you through the process of requesting an actuarial certificate. Once the actuarial certificate's been requested, period close, and you can lock off the period. I assume this error message here is that I haven't put in a. Oh, okay, so it's an unmatched transaction. I was assuming it was like I haven't set a actuarial certificate up for a partial pension fund. I'm going to navigate to a fund where I've already completed the end of year, just to take you through the remaining items. So reviewing the annual return, could jump into the annual return screen. We've laid it out, so it looks like the annual return. You can come in here, make modifications. You can change the auditor if you're working with an auditor with different auditor within different firms. Similar in the declaration, if you have multiple tax agents, you can change who the tax agent is. However, I do recommend in the period close screen when doing a close. We're doing a close in the period close screen. There is an auditor option to be selected. Make sure you selected the correct auditor at that point. If the auditor doesn't exist, add the auditor in the auditor screen. But also, if you have multiple tax agents on your site, make sure under fund details configuration that the tax agent is correct. Now, with the annual return screen, obviously we got the new, we've put it in this field so you can see the tax refund on it. It's easy to see, easy to navigate to. And once you have reviewed it, you can select save and validate. That'll go off, validate the annual return to see if it can get lodged. I've got problems, and it's obviously, I don't have a fund TFN because it's a demo fund. If I make changes, I can select recalculate answers, and that'll recalculate the answers based on the close or the data that's in the system. The next section is the generating reports. So once you have locked off that period, the audit and signing screen can be used to update audit statuses, generating any reports. You can set up multiple reports for different purposes. You can see here I've got reports that I'd send to the advisor, to the auditor. The final close one, which I could send to clients or for internal review, different report packs that are there for signing, and updating the audit status. So here it's currently here at audit waiting. Say if I've got the audit back, I can update here, say whether it's qualified or not, what parts are qualified, enter the audit completion date, select save. That will go back through, regenerate the annual return with the new audit completion date and the audit qualifications. Once that has been updated, I will be able to navigate into the lodgement screen, enter in the trustee declaration, tax agent declaration with the sign dates, and then select lodge. One thing I should have also pointed out is now that this has been updated, the reports that are in all the different report packs, they will be updated to have the audit qualifications in it, and I can just go back and produce it. I can also preview what's in the pack and select the relevant report just to make sure that it's updated before generating the pack. Lodging returns. Yep. So I have gone through the items today. Some cool stuff that we've released for the first 4 items, and I have gone through the different screens involved in doing an end of year process. What I'll do is I'll throw it back to Eugene, take control, and finish off this webinar.
Excellent. Thank you, Rhys. I could see that I could hear that you were struggling there with your cold that you've had, your virus that you've had. So thanks for that. You managed well, mate. You can have a good cough now.
Thank you.
As always, we do have a very, very useful help portal that's available for you to find out about SuperMate's capabilities, look for any features that you have, or if you need some answers, you can find them pretty quickly over there. You can click on the little question icon at the top right of your screen, and then choose the help portal option, and it'll take you to that. As always, if you're not already using SuperMate, it's a very, very competitively priced product. If you're not on web yet, also good to jump across to web. Of course, we do offer on-demand learning. You can get CPD points and accreditation through our SMSF online training. There's about 30 or so modules, and you do have access to those too. Brilliant. So we might go to questions now. Rhys, can you access them, or do you want me to take you through them?
I can access it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jay.
Yeah. You go for it.
The first one I'm going to tackle is there a report that we could show clients which tax parcel was just disposed when we selected it? So there is two reports that I would use. The realized capital gains report does indicate which the buy date and the sale date of so you can kind of identify the tax parcel. But we also have the investment history report, which is a quite detailed report, and it does have a section in it where it lists all the different tax parcels and when they were sold and for how much. So I would look at both those reports, see which one you want to send to the client, because the investment history report may be too detailed for a client. But have a look at both of them, figure it out, figure out which one you want to send. Question about uncommon unlisted assets tax statements. Could Data Hero extract it? I would say give it a go, see if Data Hero does do it. But so if it's got a simple layout, Data Hero could look at it. But if the tax statement is rearranged in an unusual order, or they use different terminology, we're still training Data Hero up to read it. For another question, is it possible to print a CSV Excel version of the trial balance in SuperMate? Yes. So when you generate a report, you can decide if you want to export it out in CSV version or not. I am being tested here about that screen, the interactive report screen, because I thought that might have had an export option on it too. I'm just generating the report on a different screen now. Okay, so on the interactive report screen, you have the option to export it to PDF, but when generating the report from the reports menu, you do have that option to generate it as a CSV file. Are there any changes to the classic version or only to web version? We do changes to classic to keep it up to date from a compliance perspective. But there have been changes to classic. The ones I've highlighted today and showed off through is through web. Is there any upcoming compliance update for Div 296? Yes, we're starting to look into. We're starting to develop all our Div 296 items. We will do a webinar that does cover the compliance updates and what we've done through SuperMate. There's a question about platform asset worksheets. Do we have a separate cell for foreign capital gains and losses? No, well, we don't for the platform asset worksheet. So the platform asset worksheet, that is there for capital gains on disposals. And we don't, with the calculation of capital gains and losses, we treat the domestic and foreign assets, gains and losses as the same, and we group it up. Obviously, if we're talking about distributions, we do have separate fields for distributions. So if you receive a tax statement and it has it has split out capital gains distributions, here's the domestic and here's the foreign. Yes, we have separate fields for that, but capital gains based on disposal, no, we don't. And
Just Luna's had a follow-up question just around the parcel disposal, right at the bottom.
yes, I think I'll have to get back to you later. I'll need to jog my memory on what's the investment history report. It may detail it, but I'll send you an email to give you an update on that one.
Excellent. Well, that wraps up the questions. We've just run out of time. So everyone, thank you very much for participating today. Some great questions that came through. Exciting poll results. It's good stuff. Thank you, Rhys. You pulled through really well with your voice there. Go and have a rest.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next month for the next update. We'll have some amazing new updates next time. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Have a good day. See you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.